Hello, friends. It's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums, and I'm so glad to have you join me today for another little, I'm going to call this a new moon in Taurus reading. I just kind of wanted to see what the energy is going to be like, especially because tomorrow we have the new moon in Taurus. So I hope that you enjoy this reading, and I hope that it resonates for you in some ways. Let me know what you guys think, as I'm still trying to figure out what I want to continuously do on my channel. So I do appreciate your comments and your feedback. So tomorrow on Tuesday, May 7th, 2024, we have the new moon in Taurus. And so I already have shuffled all of the cards that I have here. I have quite a few decks that I felt might be good. So this is just going to be kind of a layered and just all over the place maybe reading. So, all right, let's see. I feel like this one should not be reversed. Okay. And then we have, okay. I kind of feel like I want one of these. Yeah. Of course. And I'm going to grab, all right. And then, let's see. Is this what I want today? Not reverse though. Okay. So some fun little cards there. All right. I think I may just start with these guys and then kind of pull as we go through. I feel like I want to pull one more though. I feel like maybe, let's see, like this one and then this one. Okay. Yeah. All right. So the very first card I got, actually, I think I want this one reversed. Yeah. All right. So the very first card I got here is going to be the Eight of Wands. And this one, I kind of kept flipping back and forth. I pulled it reversed and then I was like, oh no, maybe I don't want it reversed. And so I do feel like the energy is more reversed. So maybe we have been feeling like things have not really been progressing or moving. Maybe there's been a lot of holdups, which can kind of correlate with the energy of Mercury retrograde. I think for a lot of us, it's like we're not seeing some of the momentum and movement that we would like. And so maybe we're kind of internalizing some of this like push, this drive to just hurry up and get there. And I know Mars moved into Aries last week, as well as Venus moving into Taurus. So we're getting kind of this sense of like, okay, all right, I'm ready to just like get up and go. I'm ready to kind of move on to the next thing. And I think the Eight of Wands reverse is kind of saying like, hey, right now is not the best time to just try to slingshot forward. We're maybe feeling a sense of like almost like being dragged back, like the bow and the arrow, like where you're just kind of like you're being pulled back. And it's not because you're not prepared. It's more of this is your opportunity to kind of get very narrow-minded about what your target is going to be moving forward. Now, next to that, we have the Three of Pentacles, which is a card that just can really talk about having to find community, reaching out, connecting with others, really finding that supportive, stable base that maybe you haven't really been feeling or like really not maybe seeing quite so much. I know a lot of people have been struggling financially or even like physically. Maybe there's been some stuff that like is kind of coming up to the surface that you need to process and deal with. And so there is a little bit of this sense of, you know, not having to just rely solely on yourself to find the success and that momentum that you have moving forward. So I thought it was interesting because then I got the Devil. And this is a beautiful Devil card. I just feel like it's very like Maleficent, like the Angelina Jolie kind of like vibe. I don't know if you guys can kind of see that. Hopefully you guys can kind of see why I'm saying it's like very Maleficent here. So to me, the Devil is really just kind of saying like, what are we tying ourselves to? What are we feeling bound by? What have we been doing in excess that maybe is no longer beneficial for us? And with, you know, Venus moving into Taurus, the sun being in Taurus, it's Taurus season. Maybe a lot of us are kind of feeling very like, not to say like lazy, because as a Taurus, I really hate that stereotype. It's more of just maybe we're feeling very like, I just want to kind of be where I'm comfortable. I don't want to go out of my way and make myself uncomfortable. And I think the devil is kind of here as a reminder to say that there's something that we're binding ourselves to that is kind of keeping us stuck and not allowing us to really show up as authentically as maybe we can. And I think with the devil, it's almost saying like, where have you been doing things to excess? And by saying that, it's more of just like a reminder that maybe we've been doing too much in some way, shape, or form. And so we're feeling a little bit stuck, a little bit stagnant. And the devil is also a good reminder that maybe there are things that we've been hanging on to, and we have to learn how to master that so that we can move into the next thing without feeling so trapped in those situations or in those relationships or connections, or even just in some of those habits. Because the devil to me is also very much about like our day-to-day habits. Like, what are we doing? How are we showing up? What is it that we need to kind of focus on and pay attention to? Now, next to that, we have the Seven of Swords. This is one of these cards that it's interesting to me in a lot of ways, because I know it can talk about like someone's being sneaky, someone's being secretive, someone's holding something back. But I feel like with these other cards, it's almost saying like maybe you have been not quite so honest with yourself about certain things, because swords are almost like a reminder to empower ourselves, to show up in our truth, to really like be very mentally clear as to what it is that we want and what we're doing. Sevens to me in tarot can really talk about like those spiritual kind of like soul lessons a lot of the time. And I feel like this is almost saying like maybe something is not quite what you think it's going to be, or maybe something has not really turned out the way that you anticipated it to. And so there is a little bit of this sense of almost like getting away with something in some way, shape, or form. And I think with the devil before, it's almost saying that maybe you've been kind of feeling like the truth has not really come to the surface yet. And maybe you're kind of waiting for something to make itself known to you and to be revealed at this current time. Now, in a traditional deck, this card usually looks like the person's like sneaking away with all the knives or with all the swords. And so it has this kind of sense of like, maybe you haven't really been quite so honest with yourself about certain things. And maybe that's where the devil is kind of saying like, look, you've been binding yourself. You're the one that's been keeping yourself stuck. You're thinking that you have to do everything by yourself, and you've been trying to push against the grain in a way that maybe is not beneficial for you. And I think that this new moon in Taurus is kind of saying like, okay, we had the eclipses happen. We had eclipse season kind of, highlight different things that maybe we're ready to let go of, but maybe there's a part of you that hasn't really connected to what it is that you need to do that needs to be removed, or where you need to kind of get away, or what sort of transitions you need to kind of initiate in order for you to kind of move freely into the next thing. Now, next to that, I got the Eight of Cups, which I think I had pulled this one reversed, but I do think that this is supposed to be upright. And I do feel like this is really saying like, you're emotionally over it. You're ready to kind of move on. You're ready to kind of move forward. There's no sense of being stuck by the choices or options that have been presented to you. You're not going to sit here and keep overthinking, well, I need to do this, or I need to do that. Or maybe you've kind of come to the realization that you're the one that's kind of kept yourself bound or stuck in particular situations or circumstances that maybe no longer resonate for what it is that you want for yourself. And so I think with the Eight of Cups, it's almost a reminder that you have emotionally withdrawn from the situation. You're ready to kind of move forward. You're not going to continuously sit here waiting for something to change because you're like, I'm done. I sat here waiting. I've been trying to do what I needed to do to get things going. They haven't really been going the way that I needed to. I'm coming to the realization and understanding that something needs to change physically in order for me to not feel so stuck and to not feel like I, am, having to cut away from other people's like bullshit essentially so that I can emotionally move on to the next thing. So it does feel like this new moon is maybe going to be the first of the current lunations that we've had in the last couple of months that may feel like, oh, we're finally getting really clear on shit. And maybe we've had to process a lot of the things within ourselves that have not been quite so easy to digest, so to speak, that are maybe ready to kind of be released and surrendered so that we can move forward. Now, underneath everything to kind of tell us, like, what are we moving into? We have the Fool and Strength. Now, the Fool is very much a card of like trust and taking that leap of faith and recognizing that sometimes we have to be okay with not knowing how something is going to be before we kind of step into that. And I think that this new moon may be trying to encourage us to really show up in new ways and to take some sort of opportunity that is being presented to us and have perfect trust that everything is going to take us exactly where we need to, that we are being held by the universe, that everything is really going to turn around, especially if you've been feeling like things have not been transiting or moving, or there's been like a lack of movement. I think that the Fool is kind of saying, all right, now it's your turn to step out and really not remain stuck and to not remain in the same pattern. Now, Strength is actually the card of this year. I'm tired of seeing this card. And it's not that it's a bad card. It's just, I feel like this entire year for me personally has just been so wrapped up in the lessons that come from learning my strength and overcoming certain things because of my strength. And I think that this is no different. I think it's more of a recognition and realization that you are powerful enough to take the next step, that your power, your strength, your courage, your bravery is what is going to allow you to find the success moving forward. So if this new moon is maybe significant for you at this current time, maybe it's kind of saying like, this is what you need to focus on. This is what needs to happen. Maybe it's a reminder for you to not remain stagnant, to not say, oh, I can just keep doing this because I'm strong enough to tolerate these things. I think your strength is really in choosing to kind of move on and not remain bound by the things that are no longer beneficial for you. So I hope that these cards make sense so far. I'm going to pull a couple more cards and then just kind of see. So here we have no. I feel like with this card, as much as it may feel like, oh, the universe is telling you no, I think that this is more of a reminder for you to set those boundaries. When I look at this image, it's almost like she's there, and it's almost like she has this auric field that is kind of impenetrable. And I think maybe this is telling you that you need to learn how to say no to certain situations, to certain relationships and connections, or maybe even learning to tell yourself no so that you can be more successful and, really reestablish that connection to yourself. And I think the no card is also very empowering in the sense of, I think for a lot of people, they really struggle with having boundaries and feeling comfortable in expressing those boundaries. And I think that this is almost saying like, it's time for you to take back your personal power, to not just kind of be so receptive to how other people receive you. I feel like both of these cards want to come out today. So let's see. So first one is Karmic Path, which is interesting because Pluto just stationed retrograde. And so it will be moving back into Capricorn. So I think a lot of us are kind of seeing the lack of progress or the lack of movement that we've been feeling in certain areas of our life. Maybe we're going to see why we're touching back on these lessons. And I think that the Karmic Path is more of a reminder of this energy of there's things that are clearing out. And as those things clear out, it's going to feel very uncomfortable. It's not going to feel good. When I think of the devil, this is very much like Capricorn in traditional, like if we're talking about like the Golden Dawn tradition, the kind of link of the astrological influence of this card, it's associated with Capricorn, because we have the little goat head, right? And Saturn used to, Saturn rules over Capricorn. And here we have the planet of Saturn, which is actually in the sign of Pisces at the current moment. But I think for a lot of us, it's like we're getting this kind of like maybe restricted sort of energy. And it can feel that way, especially if we haven't done some of the work. And I think maybe that's where this Karmic Path is almost saying like we need to kind of move back into what we feel affluence is for us. And I know for a lot of us, like this is something that maybe is tied very heavily to money, which I think also is very much a Capricornian, like our hard work, kind of begets the financial success or the affluence that we will see in the physical world. And I think with the karmic path, it's almost saying like maybe we're healing some of these money wounds. Maybe we're healing some of these things within ourselves, what we feel affluence means to us, because I'm sure what I value in my life is probably very different from what other people value. And for me, having a financial sense of stability in certain aspects is probably going to look a little bit different, not just monetarily, but also stability wise. So I think for a lot of us, we are kind of looking at what affluence means to us. Maybe we're changing like the sort of work that we're doing. Maybe we're focusing on what feels rich to us in different ways. And I think that is also a very like Taurus thing to be, what do I value in my life and what do I need to say no to so that I can have that affluence? And maybe that's where that karmic path is kind of showing up too, where maybe we're healing certain relationships and certain aspects of ourselves and certain things that we've kind of carried. And so it's more of this time to look at it as I need to set better boundaries so that these lessons aren't constantly, keeping me stuck or keeping me small. And I think that's where this no card is really present as well. All right, let's see. I want to pull. It's funny because I don't really use this deck too often. So the Keeper of Abundance, I guess this goes very well with affluence. I think that it's more of a representation of us looking at what abundance personally means to us. And like I said earlier, we all value different things. And I think abundance is something that many people just tie money to. And I think abundance is so much more than that. It can be an abundance of love. It can be an abundance of health, a time of play, of creativity, of, just pleasures in life that we get to enjoy. And I think the Keeper of Abundance is maybe a reminder for you that you need to kind of move back into that energy of what makes you feel abundant, what makes you feel connected, what do you need to do in your life to make space for that abundance to really enter. All right. And here we have Enchanter, which is all about self-evaluation, awakening, and purpose. I think that this is maybe a reminder for many of us that maybe we've just been going through the motions. Maybe we've just been like on autopilot. We're so exhausted and tired and drained from our, current existence, our current day-to-day life, that we're kind of forgetting how to take a little bit of a step back or maybe step forward into what our purpose is. And maybe having a little bit of a sense of reconnecting to what it is that we want, who we are, how we're showing up, what that means in our day-to-day life. And so I feel like maybe we're feeling like there is a true awakening happening within ourselves in different ways. And this isn't to say that you've just been neglecting yourself completely. I think it's more of just, we need to do some of this self-evaluation. We need to kind of figure out our purpose so that we can fully step in that trust and recognize our strengths by learning to kind of say no to the things that no longer make sense to us so that we can call in that abundance and that affluence and feel like we're finally changing the path that we've been on that maybe has been all about restrictions and boundaries and hardship and difficulties, as it looks like at the top, the top row of cards, where it feels like, it's like a push and pull in a lot of different ways. And I think that this is almost saying like, okay, you've done what you needed to do. Quit punishing yourself for everything. Let's see. So here we have Inner Child. Again, I feel like I have been seeing so much inner child stuff. So I don't know if that's like the new thing that everyone is like latching onto. And when I think of the astrological wheel, we have Aries, which is, the beginning of the astrological year. So it really talks about, I am. And I like to describe the year as almost like a child kind of coming into their own. And so an Aries would be like the newborn, kind of like I am, I exist, blah, blah, blah. And the season of Taurus to me is more like a toddler to like preschool age. It's like that inner child that like we're learning who we are. We are learning what we have. We're establishing, you know, things about ourselves in this physical world. And I think that this is almost a reminder that there is some stuff within you that has, maybe that's where that karmic path card is kind of saying like, hey, you're blocking some things because you're not looking within. You haven't, you know, really connected. Maybe that's where some of this like sneakiness or the secrets are within this inner child lesson that are trying to kind of unfold for you right now. And so maybe it's an opportunity for you to step fully into healing some of these things within yourself so that this affluence and this abundance can really start coming into your life with a lot more ease. And maybe that self-evaluation is a reminder of also looking at the inner child, looking at what stuff has she been, or they have been carrying for you for so long, and that maybe this is why there hasn't been as much progress and momentum in certain parts of your life. I know I've been trying to do a lot of inner child work lately, and it's not easy. It's not comfortable. I will say that I have kind of struggled with it a little bit, but the recognition and the clearing out and that connection to these inner child lessons has helped me to get a lot clearer on my purpose so that I can kind of move forward. I have much better boundaries now because I'm not just operating from this like very hurt place of please love me and please accept me. And that is also a reason why I've decided to finally come on YouTube. I had a lot of like my own wounds about being perceived and showing up and being judged by a like possible audience that I didn't even have. So it's one of these things where that inner child healing is something that we're constantly going to have to take some time out to do. I'm not going to say everyone does it. I do want to say that it is necessary that a lot of us do it. All right, so let's see what we have here for nature, nurture. We have koi, which is all about good luck. So I know for many of us, we have kind of struggled through this year, and maybe we're not feeling so lucky, and maybe we're not feeling quite so abundant and grateful in the sense of it's hard to be in that energy when you feel like everything's been very challenging or when you feel like things have not really moved the way that you thought they were going to. So I think that this is kind of saying like, hey, you need to kind of, sorry, my dog's getting up. So I think that it's almost saying like it's an opportunity for you to kind of move back into having a sense of that affluence, that abundance, of saying no to the stuff that doesn't make sense for you just because you're like, oh, I'm desperate for something, so I'd rather just do something than nothing. I think good luck is maybe a reminder that we need to kind of step back into what it is that makes us truly happy, and recognizing that when we feel lucky, we are lucky. And it sounds very counterintuitive, so to speak, especially if we're like, well, I haven't had anything really move my way, or I haven't really had things like shift the way that I thought they were going to. I think that this is almost a reminder of like almost being like that fish, of just like swimming through the water and flowing with it and finding the momentum and movement that we need, and understanding that everything that we want can actually find us if we are receptive to it arriving to us, instead of thinking that's never going to happen, or that's too hard, or I've never had it, so I don't know what it feels like, which is another thing that I think goes back to that inner child healing. And I think it's interesting because we have 18 and 18 here. So obviously we are on the brink of a new opportunity that will allow us to establish our foundation and to kind of move more into really recognizing our power, our personal sense of what it is that we really truly need in this life. All right. I feel like I'm just rambling here. I'm like, this is going to be such a long video. All right. Here we have High Priestess. This is all about recognizing your inner knowing. This is about your intuition. For women, this can be very much about womb wisdom or wise woman kind of energy, the blood moon of just really recognizing that some things are constantly happening around us and shifting and changing. When I think of the High Priestess, I think of not just her opportunity and presence in intuition, as well as like having that recognition of everything that is trying to kind of happen around her. I think of just the aspect of maybe being so into the intuitive aspects of yourself that you tend to kind of forget the physical. So I do think that with the High Priestess, as much as she's saying like we need to kind of move into this energy, is that maybe we also need to recognize that we also have to pay attention to the physical aspects of life that we have kind of forgotten, and maybe paying more attention to that energy. All right, now let's see. I don't really use this deck too much, so hopefully it's not going to give me a card that I don't know anything about. The Fertile Void. Fertile Void. So this is inner winter. This is about rest, patience, potency, and secret beginnings, which I think is very much new moon energy. It's very much saying we need to have the patience. We need to just kind of take our time. We need to see that things are happening maybe in the background that we don't understand or that we don't really see. And so there may be this part of us that's kind of feeling a little bit of like, well, I don't know how this is going to work out, or I don't really see that happening for me at the current moment. And while it does talk about inner winter, I think that maybe that is just a reminder that everything has its season. And so we're not meant to constantly be going and doing all of the time. But unfortunately, due to societal standards and expectations, a lot of us don't really take that time out to rest. A lot of us don't have an opportunity to have days off or take time off or to really honor a restful period for ourselves. And I know for a lot of people right now I've talked to, or people that I've been kind of communicating with, is like everyone feels very tired. And they're like, I don't know what's going on, blah, 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 but then again, it's like we have no true downtime. We don't have that time to really disconnect and unplug and not be constantly bombarded by energy and, different things happening in our world. And so I feel like a lot of us are craving a sense of, when can I have a break? When can I take some time to rest? When can I honor what my body needs? And I think with the Fertile Void, it's kind of telling you like, okay, we have to kind of move into that. And we have to be a little bit receptive to the changes that are trying to happen. All right, this is going to be the last card, I promise. All right, let's see what we have here. So believe in yourself. I think that this is a beautiful way to end this for this new moon in Taurus. I think it's a reminder to, again, believe in yourself. You have the opportunities being presented to you. You need to kind of remember who you are and how magical and amazing you are, so that you can really kind of move back into your strength. And maybe that is your affluence, is kind of moving into this energy and trusting yourself in these new ways. So I hope that this made sense. I try to kind of go all over the place. I hope that you found something of use and of value in this. I just want to say thank you so much for joining me. I wish you the best of luck. Have a beautiful new moon. Please take care of yourself and take time out to reconnect with yourself and what it is that you want and what it is that you need, so that everything can really start coming your way. Have a good one. Bye.